All right, so it says it started. I just usually with this OBS Studio, I have to select the thing, and then I select it and I hang out for a little bit. But because I was hitting 8:30 mark, I just started the stream. I thought, I'm gonna miss it, so I just started. And I've never done it that way. So let's see if it works. I'm gonna go to the other computer, check it. Looks like it's going. Looks like it's going. And it's working. All right, so it's time to ZBrush. I do have to change a setting here on my OBS Studio because I had game capture on, which is cool, but I closed one. So I'm gonna switch it to ZBrush. That way, if I do it right, it should switch right to ZBrush. Let's see what happens here. Does it work? I don't know. Let's see. Is it working? It's not grabbing ZBrush for whatever reason. Let me try this again. Microsoft Media Player, ZBrush. Huh. All right. I'm just gonna go to. I just will capture the screen here because this is fighting me for some reason. Capture specific window. Capture any full screen application. That's not what I want. Let's see. Let's see. Capture foreground window with hotkey. Specific window. Sorry, you guys can't see me do this. I'm trying to get ZBrush to connect here to the OBS thing, and it's just not. So I think I can just go to display capture like this. And that's how I've been running it in the past. I'll shut this off, but I have game capture. Let me delete this and see if I can get this to work. You guys are gonna watch this in action. It's gonna be so exciting. It's gonna be so exciting. All right, hit this, delete. Yes, well, it's crazy because I'm looking at this. Looks like I'm looking into an infinity mirror. Yes. All right, so we'll try this again. We'll go add game capture. Cool. Okay. Capture any full screen. Let's go to specific window, ZBrush. Okay, nothing. I don't know what the deal is. There's my ZBrush. It's hanging out there. Guess we're just gonna do that. I'm just gonna get rid of this one, and we're just gonna use ZBrush mode because apparently that's the way it wants to work. So here we are. We're in ZBrush. Yay! Party time. All right. Headphones on, even though I'm technically not listening to anything. My phone Droid Shorts. I have printed a set of these, and they're pretty good. The detail's a little bit soft. The thinness is pretty good for TPU for the legs, but the upper part is too thin. So I'm trying to find a sweet spot, and I feel like these could be printed in PETG, which has a little bit of flex to it if you print it thin, and then they would be stiff enough to hold paint, thin enough to have some flexibility when you move, but sturdy enough that it doesn't break when you walk around. That's kind of my idea. I did print a set of these in TPU as a test, and they are too squishy, and the print kind of failed in the front. So where the crotch area is, I had a layer jump here, and it just didn't kind of come out right. So there's a hole right in the crotch. But otherwise, they almost printed great. But you can see where it kind of like messed up right here. And I want to try another set of these. I kind of like the TPU, but again, this is a little bit thin. I feel like if I thickened up the ridges up at the top here on the inside so that these are a little bit more solid, and then this back piece here, if I solidify this instead of it being hollow on the inside, the top would be stiff and then the legs would have flex, I think, which would be really good. So I'm going to try to do that. There probably is going to be 3 or 4 versions of these shorts in the end for Patreon. I'll probably have a display specific version, a one-piece TPU version, one-piece PETG version, and then maybe like a 2-piece version that could be put together like the vacuum shorts, which is the front and back. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be working on tonight. And some of you might be asking, like, what about those shorts you sculpted a couple years ago? So in 2018, I sculpted some shorts, which are like these, which I'm very, very proud of. I think these came out awesome. And this material actually is really, really good. And the sculpt is, I mean, about as screen accurate as you can get. I had access to the real 4-lam shorts, which are C3PO shorts, basically. And then this print here, again, I printed this pretty low res because it was a test, but this is from a scan of actual droid shorts. So all the measurements, everything lines up really, really nice. But I'm going to sharpen up the scan just a little bit, clean it up because I didn't really take much time to clean it. And the one good thing about the scan versus my sculpt is if you'll notice the shape on this sculpt, this leg shape, this is how it is on the real suit parts. The legs are kind of like splayed at an angle, which means the outer part splays at an angle, and that's just how it is. Which is great if they're real flexible, but if they're not flexible, like these are pretty flexible so they can move, but I've made some out of fiberglass and they look great, but because the shape is like this, you can't put them in the legs properly. Now, I've seen some of the shorts from the Star Tours C3PO, and they were cast off of a real set of shorts, and on the side of those shorts, they cut them in half, and then they basically like did almost like a dart where they pinched the sides together and put a screw in down here, so that they are narrower here, but this weird crotch angle is the same on the Star Tours droid, but you could never fit your legs through the shorts because they're pinched together here so that they look right. But with these, off of the scan, they were scanned from a full costume that was in the shorts, so the legs are pushing the shorts in the correct position, so I don't have to reposition. They're already squished together, which means that if I push them out like this, then they get like the weird bulge and all this stuff. But when they're squished together, now, even if I print them in a hard material, if I print those in PLA, I can technically still wear them. And they fit into the droid legs. So that's the whole idea here. And that's why I'm doing another version. I still will make castings out of my mold, but I'm only going to do them in rubber. Probably for it's kind of a pain to make. So anyway, now that all that's out of the way, let's get to work here. Again, this is first version. It's kind of rough draft to see how they work. So let me put my glasses on. I'm getting close to this, so I got to put my old man cheaters on. My readers. Natalie, what do you call them? Cheaters? These guys? Natalie's watching Survivor, paying zero attention to me. All right. There we go. I have fingerprints all over these things. Oh, I can see. All right. So, all right. Let's take a look here. So, if I take these off solely, you can see that there's some droid legs here. These are some CZ3 legs that I'm converting into RE7 legs. So, where to start? So, a really easy way to work on these as a whole is, and you can see they've been decimated, so the resolution's kind of funky, but because there is an interior and exterior, I can technically, I'm just going to delete the interior here. Let me select the exterior. There we go. So flip them. That's weird. Okay, so now we got our exterior only. Now, I'm going to delete the interior. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to come down to geometry, modify topology, delete hidden, and for some reason it's still there. Oh, there we go. There we go. So there's, try it again. All right. Excuse me. So apparently I had dynamic subdivision turn on. So if I turn that on, let's hit always yes. Right now I have the smoothing turned on to 0, and the thickness is there to give it a little bit of, you can control this. Let me see how thick you can make this. It's kind of ridiculous. So, should I keep that? I think so, because what I can do is I can commit to this, and then it gives me a little buffer. I'll cap the holes. So what I'm going to do is apply this, and I'm going to delete that interior bit, which we go to modify topology, delete hidden, and we're going to just close holes, which will give us kind of like just cap the top and bottom off. I don't know if that's going to matter a little bit, but basically I want to crank up the resolution. I'm going to sharpen up these lines, and then it sounds like counterintuitive. I'm going to sharpen the lines, and then I'm going to lower the resolution and remesh the whole thing so the mesh instead of is really clean. And I want to keep all this asymmetrical. Like, you see how this the shapes here are. This line comes in, and on this side it's like warbly. This is because it's from a screen use sculpt. There all this weirdness in the back here. I might try to average this out. This crease that you can see here is because, like I showed you on the real shorts, they are sculpted with this weird angle. So when you squish them together like this pair's a little bit stiffer, but when you squish them, they get strange wrinkles in places, and this is like based on an unsquished pair. So so they have these little wrinkles here, and I want to keep it a little bit, but I'm going to kind of try to split the difference so it's not completely mushed up and weird, but also has a little bit so that it feels more like a screen used part. So where do we start here? I'm going to go in, I'm going to like get these details nice and crisp. The edges of these are pretty crisp on the real shorts. But to do this, I need to turn up the resolution. We're going to go to Dynamesh. And see, that's all cranked up really high. It was like that on my last time I was on here too. Let's see. Right now we have 300,000 points. Let's Dynamesh it, just see what happens. And we about tripled the amount, which is okay. We can go a little higher than that. Let's see here if I touch anything. All right, now I can zip it again. There you go, 1.4 million. It's a little better. It gives us a little bit more clay-like experience. Now, again, see how we got like some funkiness here? I don't want to have my shorts here that I've sculpted as my reference, because these I had a lot of reference going into those sculpts, so a lot of stuff I did on those was based on photos I have of originals. So having it right here in person, I can kind of look at it and compare. So anyway, let's go to it. Again, these are not going to be symmetrical. They're not going to be perfect. They're going to look like screen used, hopefully, when they're done. And these will be on my Patreon. You know what I'm going to do before I do this? These are going to be on my Patreon as I do the different versions. Let's see here. I have boogers. My wife has a cold, and I think that I'm getting it. Let's see. I'm going to put these at the very top here. And this is the CZ3 parts here. A lot of droid bits in this thing, but let's rename Droid Shorts V2. There we go. And we'll be working off of this one. That way we got a backup in case I royally screw up or do something weird. So what we're going to go meticulously. You're going to come in here, and we're going to just try to sharpen this line up a little bit. And this is like the slow pain in the butt way to do it, but it will probably come out better in the end. So just want to check it here, see like what is a good starting point. Because essentially what you want to do is you want to pull this in. I could do a pinch. B-P-L. Oh, wow. Oh, sorry. BPI for pinch. Now, if I do this right, it'll give me a little bit crisper line here. What it's doing is taking the surrounding pixels and sharpening them into that corner a little bit. Now, sometimes if you do this, the average is a little too broad. Like, you have to sharpen up the point so that it doesn't, see how it's kind of sloping the surface down? Let's look at it here. It's not bad, but sometimes it'll make the pinch point like a little higher than you want. Like if I do it this way, it'll pinch, but it's lifting. So if you hold down Alt, it'll kind of pinch inward. I could do Damien Standard in here, kind of just knock that back a little bit. Now, this is another thing too. Once it's remeshed, I could go and just physically model it, do poly modeling on these bits, and I always go back and forth on that because sometimes that way is easier, but you start to lose a little of the nuance of the scan. So there's keeping the scan detail as close as possible. This works great, but you can. It just takes longer. A little bit more of a pain in my butt. No pun intended here. Sculpting a butt. And you see how it's pulling here? You keep this brush as small as possible. Push that into that corner here. And at the same time, I could be sharpening this a little bit. Now, on the, let me look at my sculpt here. The upper part here is reasonably sharp, but this has to be pretty dang small. So we're essentially going to sharpen this upper edge and sharpen the crease edge at the same time. If we go back and forth, it'll help, keep these pieces separate. We're just going really gentle here. And then soften the outer edge a little bit so that it blends a little better. And pinch and pinch. And you can see it's just crisping up. And this is the tedium of doing things this way. So you just gotta, this takes time. You gotta sit and zone out and sharpen all the lines. I do have 2 C3PO head scans too that I'll probably be, oh, what the hell did I do? I don't know how I did that, but cool. Great. I don't know what I just did, but now I got this weird little blue thing here. Oh, there we go. But I got 2 different 3PO head scans that I'll probably also do for the Patreon. They are, one is from Empire Strikes Back, Arrowhead, and the other one's from A New Hope, Arrowhead. So if you guys know the differences, they are different. And that's what I'll say about that for now. All right, Redynamesh. And this side you can see it's got some janky little bits here and there. Yeah, it's super fun. I think this is kind of one of the things that I never liked about the vacuum costume shorts that are out there. They're very well made. Like, I still use a set half the time when I'm doing events. If I know I'm going to walk around a lot, the vacuum form shorts are just more comfortable than my current one-piece shorts. But that said, they're not my favorite. And the big thing about that is that the line in the butt here is too short on them. So like these lines, they're like, for some reason the butt is really, really short on the vacuum form versions. I don't know why that is. Apparently they're, originated from the Don Post statue, which was molded from a real suit, but there's some very strange things on the Don Post statue. It makes me wonder like why they did certain things. Like, I think my theory, I don't know this for sure, but my theory is that when they Lucasfilm sent the parts to Don Post, that some of the pieces were mix and match from different films. So the shorts on the Don Post thing just don't look like any of the film shorts that I've seen. They kind of look okay, but I have a feeling they like got a mold of, like I said, the one-piece shorts that are weird shaped, and when they go to pose it as a statue, you can't just make those in a fiberglass without modifying them. So I have a feeling that they had to modify the crap out of some to make them work on their statue, and then remolded them, and that's why they're slightly off. Again, don't know this for sure. That's just my assessment based on what I've seen. Another thing is that the right leg on the Don Post statue is very strange. It has like the little teeth detail that go over the knee are on like a separate casting for some reason, and they just don't, there's a gap over them, like someone putting it together and just didn't look at any reference. They went through all that trouble to make that thing, and then didn't look at a picture of it before they put it together or something. Which is crazy to me, but that is how it appears. And the right leg, the back of the right knee is weirdly bigger for some reason than the left knee on the back. It's just too wide. Like there's detail that come down the back of the leg, and on the right leg on the Don Post statue, it's like an inch wider than it's supposed to be. And the that knee detail, how they added like the little teeth for the knee, makes me think that they had a New Hope leg upper thigh. Like when people at Lucasfilm gathered up a bunch of 3PO parts, they just grabbed stuff and didn't look or didn't know, because people that work in the archives, they're archivists. They're like essentially like librarians, and they learn about the Star Wars stuff, but a lot of them don't know about the Star Wars stuff. And if they're getting requests like that, they may not know the variants and all the ins and outs of the different costumes. So it looks to me like they got a New Hope upper thigh, and then Empire Strikes Back or later versions of the rest of the suit. That's what it looks like. Again, could be wrong. That's what it looks like to me. So it is a bit much. It's a little weird. So I'm trying to work off of some of those things. I've scanned some other ESB or Return of the Jedi era parts, and I'm going to try to get the leg done up really good, and then get the parts finished out for my leg lamp, so that there'll be like a printable version of my leg lamp. So I'm remodeling an R2 dome. Try not to use anybody else's model for that. Do my own R2 dome model that is specific for the lamp. Made with mounting points for light fixtures and so forth. And I've already modeled the base. I have one over there that's based on my base, based on the base, on the stand base for my lamp. Because the one that's been on my lamp for years and years is actually made out of foam core, and I made it kind of last minute, just as a gag thing, and then figured I'd replace it one day, and I just never have. So I modeled up a new version that is awesome. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Natalie's got tissue in her nose, looks like a maniac. Speaking of which, I have tea. I'm gonna go grab my tea. 1 second, guys. Be right back. All right. Got my tea in my hand. It's delicious. It's still cool in here. It's not as cold as it has been. I don't know what it's like tonight, but today it didn't feel as freezing as it's been. The last couple times I've been on here, I've been wearing like crazy jackets. I guess it's in the 40s right now. It's gonna get down to 30 degrees tonight, but it doesn't feel that bad in here currently. All right, so starting to get, I'm going to go to BDS. That is the Damien Standard brush, which is kind of like a little pointy brush here. I'm going to reestablish this shape, and it's going to be a little funky. I could probably go even higher on the resolution here, This is going to knock that corner back in a little bit. A lot of times these scans they do a decent job, but they will try to average out some stuff if they can't figure it out. When you convert the point cloud data, it'll soften up the inner edges of these things. Now there is a little tiny bit of curvature in here on the real ones, just a little bit. It's really soft. I mean, it's not really soft. It's got a little, it's like the sculpting tool had a little curve to it. So there is a curve like this. It's just less than what you see here. So trying to hit that sweet spot is going to be a little bit of a trick. Are these new files? Tom Wilson. New-ish. They're not out anywhere. They're not online. These are my files, but they will be online. These shorts, hopefully soon. And I don't know if you've been here for a little while or not, but these are scanned from Screen Use shorts. So they have all the weirdness to them that the Screen Use ones have. So they're not going to be symmetrical. They're not going to be like, the ones that are kicking around that everybody's got that are like Jesse did a great job on some. They're symmetrical. They look more like, maybe like the sequel suit style. And they're great, but these are going to be more like original trilogy, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi style shorts based on that stuff. So that's where these are at right now. Always amazing to see your work, Mr. Tarpley. Thank you very much. These are basically, I'm just doing a scan cleanup here. So I am just going through and copying, just clean up all the detail. And I don't know if you're here before, but I had mentioned that when I sculpted my C-3PO shorts, I had access to a real set of shorts, the actual Forlom shorts, and which are C-3PO shorts, and I had them in hand, and I got to use this for my reference. So my sculpt I'm very proud of it. These are based on a scan, and the positioning is a little different because the scan was, the thing they were scanned off of, the actual suit had been stood up in a more of a natural pose. So the shorts are like the legs are squished together a little bit, which deforms the shorts slightly. Like you can see in the back here how it's got these little deformities. It's from the being squished together. But the position of the legs is much more natural, which means that if you were to print these, you could essentially wear them as is. Whereas the ones that I made, this is a set that I made. You can see how the legs are gapped. This is how the Screen Use ones are when they're not being worn, and they're flexible. So like if you stand in them, they'll bend. And this pair's got some flex to it, but it's kind of hard to demonstrate without sticking them in the legs. But if you flex them, they fit. But if I made this out of fiberglass or something, they don't fit in the shorts or into the legs properly, which is very annoying. Because honestly, like fiberglass ones, they're not quite as comfortable to wear, but they hold the finish really good. So if you paint a set of fiberglass ones, they'll stay gold for a long time, especially if you're wearing it as a suit. Another thing too is like if you're making a suit for display and you have the rubber shorts, it's overkill. The rubber shorts are kind of a pain to make, and if you could just make fiberglass ones for display or print some that are the right shape, then I think it just makes it easier for everybody. So that is what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to make very accurate shorts. It could be display shorts and so forth. But I also think I'm going to make a version of these that are split like the vacuform versions. I may even get some vacuformed off of these shorts eventually and just sell my own vacuform versions. I could probably vacuum them myself. There's a guy in North Hollywood that does very, very high quality vacuum forming, and his prices are reasonable, so I'll probably just figure out what he charges and figure out what I'd have to charge to make it worth my time to do those. But they are it'd be pretty nice, like a newer vacuum short that looks more accurate than the current ones. The current ones are out. They're nice to wear, they're well made, but the the detail on the butt is really, really short. It's like, you know, I don't know. I think the details end about here. Like the butt is just shorter. They just kind of don't look quite right to me. So that is what I'm changing. And you can see here, I've got like this a little bit of lost detail here. Go back to the pinch tool. And basically, I think what I'm going to do is I'll get the detail sharpened up. You can see on this one here, I've got this one that's pretty sharp. And I took measurements of the depth of all the piping detail when I did these, so I'm using this as my reference. Even though it's my copy, it's one that I feel pretty confident about all the dimensions and so forth. So in here, I'm using the polish tool. This is H polish, BHP, and this will essentially like flatten out the surface in a flat way. It's like taking a flat plane and slowly working it down. So these areas here where I feel like this is too gradual of a curve to use the pinch tool on currently. So I'm trying to knock down the curve a little bit underneath the piping detail, and then I will go back with the pinch tool and sharpen it all up. Just kind of, you see how it like kind of drags the little polygons down into place in a nice way here. And as I do this, I get them closer and closer, I can switch over to the pinch tool and sharpen that edge up. And I might be making these a little overly sharp, but on the insides of these just a little bit. But when you print them and paint them and finish them, it's easy to lose some detail. So if I over sharpen them, then in the finishing process, they should land at about a very natural point. So if I come in here, and basically this tool, when I go to do the polish, I will push down. You can see I'm going to do it sort of hard, so you can see it. I push down, and then I hit Alt to pull it back up, and I'll just go back and forth really lightly, and it doesn't look like much is happening, but it makes a big difference. I have a screen accurate Vader costume on a mannequin, a Luke Hoth Trooper costume on a mannequin, and I want a C-3PO that I can display it as well. That's awesome. If you have a printer, there's some good files. Jesse M. I'm gonna mess up his last name if I try to say it out loud. He did a really good job on some 3PO files, and I started a set a long time ago, and then Jesse came out with his files, and they were good enough that I was like, didn't feel any kind of like need to really push to make more because there's already a set. But now I think I will get back to doing my versions, and I'll just be rolling the parts out through my Patreon and as I do this, and they'll be up there. But if you have a printer, it is definitely a cheaper way to do it for sure than to buy the pieces. I've always wanted to do a Vader costume too. I've got a couple Vader helmets here, and I really, really would like to have a whole suit. Man, that's actually one of the first ones for years I wanted to have a Vader costume. And I always would hit things like I'd get to the point where, especially like, I don't know, 20 years ago, it was a lot harder to, find the pieces. Like now there's a lot of people out there that offer, a kit or a helmet or, components to the suit. And especially after like the Don Post statues came out, I think there were people that took molds off of them and so forth. And then more stuff has come out since then. And now it's a lot easier to like put something together. At the time, it was like tricky. So I was going to fabricate the whole chest piece and the shoulders and everything. And I had that Don Post like deluxe edition, or no, I'm sorry, the classic action helmet, which I still have, which is really good especially for the time. I think I got it in like 97 96 maybe. Got a long time ago. At the time, it was awesome. They had the deluxe edition and then the classic action. And the classic action was vinyl, and deluxe edition was fiberglass, and it was so accurate apparently that they had swapped the paint scheme because of the black and silver paint. They did it in reverse. I believe I have Jesse's files. I just need to get around to print them. Yeah, his files are really good. He did a great job on all the parts, and it just like goes together really well. And I've done like some critiques on them, and honestly, like they're really well done. And I feel like it's one of those things where I look at stuff in like a hyper particular way, and I barely have stuff to say about his files. He did a good job. I had a whole suit here a couple months back that I chromed for somebody, and so I got to really take a look, and I kind of did this little comparison between some parts I had here and Jesse's files, and yeah, the things that are off are really minimal, but yeah, super good job. And there's just things that like I would personally do, like he didn't do anything wrong at all, but like things that I would do because of the way I make stuff. Like I like to make stuff really thin, and it's like basically like a junk print and then fiberglass it. So it's like I have a fiberglass part, but it's like a 3D printed gel coat is what I always tell everybody. I forgot who made the shoulder armor pads, but he's in Cali and he makes fiberglass helmets and armor and uses car paint. He actually made a helmet and armor for Dave Prowse. Wow. Oh, there's a guy that's in oh my gosh, what's his name? He's in Northern California, I think, for a while, if I'm thinking of the right guy, that did Vader stuff, and he makes very good replicas. He has like the different versions. Like currently I've got New Hope version, and I think the other one's like Jedi era, if I remember correctly. Might be ESB, but I think it's Jedi. Yeah, if I remember the guy's name, there's a dude that was out here that did a very nice job of making these. What's kind of funny is when you see the scans, there are like, it picks up detail that is very hard to see even in person, and when you're looking at a scan, it's almost like you can see indications of how they sculpted the elements. Like it scoops in just a little bit around here, like areas that I haven't touched yet scoop in just such a way that, like, see this angle? Let me see how if I come up here, it just scoops. It almost looks like at one point that this detail was level with the surface, and then instead of adding this onto the surface, they sculpted in and scooped it out like that. If that makes sense. Like picture this, it's just flat all the way across from there, and they just carved into it and then like re-sculpted out. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know if that's for sure how it's done, but I actually have a feeling that's how they did the piping detail on some of the Protocol droid shorts, because like the RA7 legs, I think, were like an early version of the Protocol like legs, and if you see like those legs compared to the C-3PO legs, they look thicker just a little bit. And if you took a clay casting of those and then carved out all the detail and just left behind the piping detail, it just looks like that to me. I don't know if I'm right, but that is what it seems like. Like, I don't think that they took the piping and laid it down and I feel like they carved it in and then like reworked the surface. Again, don't know for sure, just basing that off of just some little hints that I get when I look at the suit. Now, the suit was mostly sculpted by Liz Moore, but I know that Brian Muir also did some work on the 3PO suit. And I know that he added some of the details that are on the shorts and on the legs, and he may be able to answer some of those questions. If he's still around. I think I'm friends with his wife. I think is friends with me on Facebook, but I haven't seen her post anything in a long time. Let's see. All right, back into this side. So I'm doing the same thing here, just copy this. Another trick you can do if you really need to match an angle, you can go to the polish tool, which is or the planer tool, which is BPL, and if I select here and then move this way, it'll just continue whatever surface is like here, wherever the flat area is, it'll just continue it out. And you can see how it can help imply where the detail would go. And if you do really small steps like this, if you're trying to just sharpen something up, that could be a good way to help establish a corner. It's good for some things. I think on this one it's a little too aggressive. So I'm going to go back to the pinch tool. We're going to head down this one. Alrighty. And again, I'm going to pinch this guy sharper on this upper side and then pinch into this corner here. And again, sometimes pinching into the corner, see how it like tapers the surface a little bit? It's not quite a 90-degree kind of edge there. Look at that angle too. Hang on a second, let's look. Yeah, see that? See this? Remember I was talking about how they carved, I think it was carved in? I think right here is actually kind of good indication of that, because look at this plane here versus this plane here. Look at that. See how much higher that is? If they had added these later, this would be smooth all the way across. Like this would just be like a really smooth, perfect surface. And this goes up and then caves in a very strange way that I don't think, again, could be wrong, I just don't think it would do that if it was added to the surface. Now, I don't know if any of you guys do any foam fabrication, but I thought about making patterns for some of these suits too, because like the legs and so forth, I did foam patterns to do a set of RA7 legs, which I haven't built yet, but I made the patterns for them. So I might put patterns up as well for some of the protocol droids. Basically, if you start with the generic like RA7 short, you could add any of the piping detail to do the other droids. And my friend Cameron, ooh, new shorts, yes sir. And if you're doing a painted droid, like again 4-LOM or CZ3 or just any of the other, color painted protocol droids, honestly, making a shorts out of foam, if you do a good job, I doubt you'd be able to tell that they're not fiberglass, and they'd be way more comfortable to wear. I mean, it's infinitely more comfortable. So I may post up some patterns for those as well if people are interested. And you can get the thinner foam, which is like I'm trying to remember what size that was, like 8 millimeters maybe. It's pretty thin, and if it's shaped right, it's not so chunky, so you can still keep the costume pretty narrow. And if you needed to adjust it, add darts or anything, it is easier. And yes, Protocol Cosplay, they are from a scan from screen use shorts, which is why they're real wonky. See, like asymmetrical and all that? That is because they're scanned from screen use shorts. So I'm doing a cleanup now, and if you've been here for a bit, you're going to hear me repeat things a few times as I tell the newcomers what the heck is going on. So I am going in and sharpening up the detail and I'm going to get everything more crisp, and then I'm going to remesh the whole shorts so that they are clean and easy to print, but they will have the asymmetry and the all the asymmetry and the weird warbles and all the stuff that the screen use ones have. I'm going to keep, so should be pretty awesome. Do you think you could ever get yep, I could do that. I did. Hold on, let me pull something up here. Let me see if I can find it. I'll show you some foam fabricated stuff that I chromed. Hang on one second. Let me switch to this. I'm gonna find it first, so I'm not digging around. I did some for the Jimmy Kimmel show, and I did them for Tom Spina Designs, but let me see here if I can find this one. I did it for the Jimmy Kimmel show, and Tom Spina Designs hired me to make this whole suit. Somebody got a picture of these things chrome. Let me see here. All right, yeah, here we go. I'll switch over now. Let's go back to the thing I was looking at. Sorry, guys. All right, scene, and we'll go here. So, for Tom Spina Designs, here's me. There's a 3PO suit I made for their saxophonist. Now, the face opened up like an Iron Man suit, and I just realized that Manuel Romero of Potomac Props made my Vader stuff. Amazing stuff. Not cheap, but it's the best you get. Bro, do you think Manuel was actually on Tested with Adam Savage last year? Oh, that's cool. I'm assuming you use TC90. I haven't yet, but I will for the future ones. TC90 is foam. And the first time I saw TC90, it was on foam fabricated parts that were going to get chromed. I didn't chrome the pieces, but they were being done, and I saw the stuff and I was amazed by it. So, and it looked fantastic. I saw the tests I saw, I was like, that I was sold. But anyway, this is the suit that I did for Jimmy Kimmel show. You can see it's missing the details. He had to play saxophone, and the face, they wanted me to take the chin off for some reason. I wish they let me keep it on, but I had to take the chin off, and then the face opened up. Like, I think there's a picture of it here. So you can see how the face opens up like an Iron Man suit, so he could play. And this suit, the forearms and the shoes were, I think I foam fabbed the shorts on this one. How did I do the shorts? I can't remember. I did the shorts on this with craft foam that I heated and pressed into my vacuform shorts just to get the shape. Is this them? So they're like chintzy as all get out, but the forearms here and the shoes, actually I can't remember. I think I tried that and I ended up going with something else. I might have done these in resin. I can't remember. I did something in the shorts, but these are the shoes right here, just fully foam fab shoes and forearms. This is what they look like before I chromed them. So I basically just doused them. This is before TC90. This is just auto clear coat mixed with what's it called, Bulldog adhesion promoter, which the adhesion promoter added to the paint is not for adhesion. Once you add it to the clear coat, it's like a flexibility additive. So that's what I did. So as you can see here, these are those shoes. They're chromed. Somewhere I have a picture of those pieces by themselves chromed, but they're not on this site for some reason. And then the forearms are chromed. And this suit, it only had the tops of the hands, and he had to play saxophone, so I think we ended up ditching the underglove part so he could play. I guess for the rehearsals he had them on. He has them on here this is when they played. I can't remember. I feel like we modified the finger somehow so he could feel the things better. But yeah, so this was the whole setup. And I had to cut the shoulders really weird because I played saxophone as a kid. So I actually knew, I'm like, oh, he's not going to be able to play with C-3PO's arms all silly like this. So I got him. But anyway, back to the whole thing. Yeah, these foam pieces, just foam fab, craft foam. That's what they look like, all chromed up. So it's totally doable. You just had to just saturate it with clear coat just to get it nice, but they work fine. And that's that. Let's go back to ZBrush. Let's keep working here, or I'll never get done. So TC90 is awesome, but just regular urethane clear coat will be more flexible with the flexibility additive. And like I said, the what's it called? The Bulldog flexibility or adhesion promoter is flexibility additive for urethane. There's like, they do videos, I could send them to you, of the of their test where they spray it on like auto bumpers and all this stuff. They flex it and it works great. And when I first met the people for Spectrachrome, when I was in Florida, I went to the Spectrachrome, like the factory where they make all the equipment and everything, and the guy gave me a tour and he was showing me the paints. At the time, there was a flexibility additive that they would add to their clear coat, and I think since then they've like changed the clear coat. Now it just is flexible out of the bat, like right out of the bottle. But in the time, this was like 2012, I guess, they had an additive for the flexibility. And it was funny because when I saw I keep saying Red Bull, the Bulldog adhesion promoter sample thing where they showed how they can use it as a flexibility additive, the tests that they did with it were like identical to the ones they did at Spectrachrome. And I'm like, I bet this is the stuff that the Spectrachrome guy is adding to his clear coat to make it flexible. It just seemed like they were showing me the same thing. And so anyway, it works great. I did a video a while back where I had some on some latex hands, which latex isn't optimal because latex is not only flexible, but it's also stretchy, whereas like a flexible urethane bends, but it's not too stretchy. But even on those latex hands, in my video, you could see me bending it, and they sat outside. They were probably outside for a year, just living in the rain and the sun and all this stuff, and they still were holding up. And absolutely make foam short templates. I would make those TC90 in a heartbeat. I will do that. I'm going to make I'm going to make full templates for the whole damn droid, because I can't put out any of my RA7 stuff. I could do legs, but I can't put out torso or head. But I can make the other parts and put those up. But I could do a foam template of the torso, which the way it's built would work perfectly with a foam template, like easy. And it would be accurate to scale, everything. So I could do that. So I'll probably do a foam fab version of the RE7's body, which honestly is like a no-brainer. If you've ever had to wear tons of fiberglass stuff and then you wear some foam fab stuff, you're like, why am I wearing fiberglass? Years ago, I did a War Machine suit, and it was fiberglass, and then I redid the legs out of foam, and I have a photo of them sitting right next to each other, like the foam fab legs and the fiberglass legs, and you cannot tell them apart. They look exactly the same. And the foam ones were so comfortable, and the fiberglass ones sucked. They'd pinch me, and they just would make horrible sounds, and they just sucked. And so, yeah, anytime I could swap that out, I do. And thinking even like the foam fab on the actual, like on Mandalorian, you see those the gonk droids that are walking around. There are a couple of them, and two different shops made them. In one shop, they foam fabbed it, and the other shop made theirs out of fiberglass and everything. And it's so funny when you meet the performers that were in those suits, and the foam fab one is so light and comfortable, and it looks just as solid and real as the fiberglass one, and it's just way lighter. It can take more abuse if you drop it or anything. You're not going to chip it or ding it. It's just awesome. So I am going to do a foam set of 3PO legs, and I'll probably, if they come out really good, I'll probably end up making 2 or 3. I'll probably take the first ones and then dedicate them to Forlom, and then if I'll make any adjustments I need, and then the next ones I am going to make a set of better walking 3PO short legs that are just all foam fabricated, and that way, like every year I do the Hollywood Christmas Parade, and if I could have legs that I could walk around in, I'll do the whole parade. I mean, the hardest part about walking a stupid parade is that the legs always suck. The fiberglass legs are just not fun to walk multiple miles. I always do like the first couple blocks of the parade, and then it's like myself and Victor Franco, he usually has his R2, and we'll do, from, if you look at Hollywood Boulevard, we do from about Orange to, or a little bit before Orange, all the way to Highland, which is maybe 2.5 or 3 blocks. It's not very far, but it's where like the main, televised part of the parade is. So we always do that section, and then we leave, and then the rest of the people go do the whole rest of the parade. But if I have foam legs, I will do the whole freaking parade with everybody else, and I'll be able to walk way faster, which will be real nice. And they'll look just as good as the other ones. I'd make like 2 or 3 pairs of the foam shorts for spares, and they get bent during travel. Oh yeah, now that's the thing, is like they hold up so well, and even with, if you chrome them, if you've seen the movie shorts, like look at the movie shorts, they are so bad. They never match the finish of the rest of the suit. They look good on camera, but we see them in person, they just look like they use different paint. Those are urethane, and the foam ones are just be so comfortable. Another thing you could do is you could take the foam, and I'm using L200, which is like I think it's like an EVA foam family, but let me look at something here. This line, my version is very tight. I'm going to tighten this up. It's in like the EVA foam family, but I don't think it's exactly EVA foam. I don't think that it heat bends the same as regular like EVA foam, but with the templated version you could definitely get like 10 millimeter EVA, and then heat treat it to get all the little bends and stuff, and you can sand it. And then what's really nice is you can use a coating. Here we have what's it called, Creature Cast, and it is a neoprene coating. It's really, really, really sturdy, and it's kind of like using latex, but it's easier to use, doesn't smell as gross, and it's called Creature Cast, and you can use it on the foam to kind of unify everything, and you can sand it, you can get it all smooth and then sand it down and get it pretty smooth before you go to the TC90. The TC90 should stick to it really, really nice. But I mean, yeah, that's kind of the plan. I mean, and the thing is, like, if I could do the legs and the legs look good, if I can get the legs to look like 96% as good as the fiberglass, I'm just going to use foam legs. I just don't care. Nobody notices. I'm like the only person that would complain about it. If I was doing a photo shoot or something, had to be like, super official, I would use the fiberglass legs. But for anything where it's just like meet and greet, you got to walk around and do stuff, and if I had foam legs that like nobody could tell except for me, I'll use the foam legs. I don't care. It's kind of like how I felt with all the metal greeblies and stuff. I have all metal greeblies for my 3PO, like brass stuff, and I bought this stuff a long time ago, but it's heavy and it's really expensive. And if I broke one or I lost a piece, like I can't just go pick another piece up. But the 3D printed parts look just as good. Nobody can tell. In a photo, they look great. They're light. If they break, I've got like 4 extra sets in my kit. I can just swap them, no problem. And I was like, why am I gonna, take around these metal pieces, especially brass? Like the real ones on the real suit were aluminum. so they're lighter. Brass is really heavy, and I have all these metal brass pieces. It's so dumb. And not it's dumb, if somebody wants them, it's not dumb, but it's like, if I'm wearing it and I'm just doing goofy stuff and I'm not on some movie budget where they need to see those pieces, then I don't know, it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense for me to risk them getting lost, for one, lug them around, for two. It's just a bit much. All right, let me see something here. All right. So on mine, I sharpen these up. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I was saying how these are sharper in person than they are on the scan by a little bit, but they're not super sharp. But I'm going to slightly over sharpen the details so that once they're printed and you go through cleanup, it should knock them back down to about the appropriate amount. And I'm not going to go crazy. It's just going to be a little bit extra. How do you make the templates of the shorts, like main layer and then piping details glued in place? Yeah, exactly. It would just be the main thing and then the piping detail. And how I made my piping detail for like my shoes, for example, I've got screen accurate shoes. I never wear them, and when I do the piping detail, I fabricate my shoes off of like some generic Vans, and the ones that are on my 3PO I've had for a long time. But like when I did the my RA7 droid that I wore in Skeleton Crew, I just made shoes because they were just easier to wear. I could walk around in them, and nobody looks at them. They look like the screen shoes, like close enough, and they fit really great. They're comfortable. And I did the piping detail with my bandsaw, and I made like a little fence so I could cut everything the same, and I just lined it up to the thickness I need, and I took the foam and I just cut these long strips that are like the right thickness for the piping detail. Just cut a bunch of them, and then I just go and lay them down instead of a whole crap load of all of exactly the same, like I don't know, 1/8 inch or whatever it was, and it made my life real easy, which was cool. I mean, and one of the things is taking the front ridges are slight pain. Do you know what's Cameron's last name? Hold on. You know Cameron? He does like Droid Protocol on Instagram. He's done a really good job at fabricating some shorts. I think he just like eyeballed it. And the thing is, you can with the line details, you can cut your templates. You basically make your strips, and instead of worrying about like the little return, you would take the front part of the shorts where that comes up. Like let me demonstrate on here. Like this area, you would use this chunk of the foam, and then oops, didn't mean to do that. And then this strip here, instead of like worrying about this return piece in this little thin area in between, you would just lay this strip right up against the other piece and this one too, and they would just kind of like lay up against each other. And there's a set of the if you look at the behind the scenes stuff, there's a picture of Anthony Daniels in like a pre C3PO costume, like one of the test ones, and on the shorts they're cut like that, like where these interior parts are, it's actually physically cut out right there. So like if he bends, I imagine they would kind of like accordion in and out, or like the panels would slide. And so just build it like that. You just put this front piece, and then this piece just sticks in the back. Don't worry about the return. The top edge of this piece will become that return right there, and then it's trickier. But if you say, okay, there's going to be a 1/4 inch overlap behind each piece, you just add that 1/4 inch on, and then you'll be set. And that's how I would handle that. And and then you just brush on like 10 layers of that creature cast to like smooth out any little boogers, and probably good. And if they make that foam clay, it's like EVA clay or whatever they call it, and it's you probably wouldn't need it, but if you really wanted it to be control that interior curve of those parts, you could probably do it with that clay. And again, once you coat it with the creature cast, it will never go anywhere. It'll be on there forever. And that clay is it's like air drying, and I don't know if you've seen. I'm sure you've probably seen it before, but it air dries and it shrinks a little bit. But yeah, once you get it there, you let it dry out and you give it a good coating. It'll be permanent as can be. It'll be real nice, real nice. So what I'd probably do if I was going to make a template, I always expand on the side. And I don't know if I ever talked about this, but one of the tricks that I do, I don't know if I lost connection here. I can see on my other monitor it's pausing. It's hanging up for some reason. I might have like lost. Sorry about that. It kind of looked like it hung for a second. I would probably just copy the one side, mirror them, and then wouldn't that make the ridges inset pretty far because you're layering 10mm foam over and over? You just hog out the bulked out layers on the inside. No, it would probably be totally accurate. I mean, this is like if you look at the thickness of this little cutaway here, it's pretty beefy to chunk. And here, figure out like what thickness this is and just use whatever thickness foam that is and just add that in. I think it'd work great and wouldn't be a problem. And the thing is, it'd be like if it's not perfect, nobody's gonna notice. If I get it within like a 1/16 of an inch, it doesn't matter to me. And with the template, I would lay them out so each one would kind of like jut outward just like this. This should come out fine. And the thing is, like with the template, like it's not like I'm just stacking them like this. Like the template would be curved and darted so that it would like curve out. So each one would like be outward. So it would like end up, basically all the angles would match up to this right here. So see how these are angled outward like that? It would be exactly like that. It would just, little, like if the panel's out, it's gonna be a little wider at the top. And when you piece them together, it'll force a curve into the foam. Maybe that's a project I'll do soon. I have a bunch of that size. I have like actually some really good foam for this in my shop right now, a big roll of it. Maybe I'll do a set of shorts soon just to see how they go. And if they work, I'll put them up. I was gonna make legs out of that foam, but I may do some shorts too, just to see. It's funny to see how these lines terminate on the scan. Did it take you long to learn ZBrush? I've been using ZBrush for a really, really long time, and I use it in spurts. When I started learning it, I was learning it I did architectural renderings for a really long time, and they got ZBrush for doing like anything sculptural in a room. If they needed, literally if there's like a statue in a room or anything like that, or even a few years ago, before it was easy to simulate a blanket just falling on a bed, if you wanted to make the pillows look a little more natural or something, you just bring them into ZBrush and kind of like dent them up so it looks like somebody actually uses the room. Like if there was a pillow on a couch and it just needed to look more natural, I'd go take it ZBrush and give it a once over to give it some crinkles and some wrinkles and so forth. So I started that way, and then in 2017 when I started doing everything freelance, I bought my own license of it. I started using it more, and it's still like I still am learning stuff in ZBrush. And now that that company Maxon bought ZBrush, it's very annoying because they kind of messed up their whole thing. Like Pixelogic that did ZBrush initially had a perpetual license, so if you bought ZBrush, you would get the upgrades forever. It was awesome. And then Pixelogic got bought out by this company Maxon. Maxon honored that for a little bit, but then they decided that they were not going to honor that anymore, and they started trying to sell it as a subscription. So my version of ZBrush is from like 2022. So it's almost 3 years old. It's like the late 2022 is the last update I got, and then they started trying to charge after that, so I haven't updated. So if you're going to learn to sculpt, I would say ZBrush is amazing, but maybe head to Blender, because Blender sculpting tools are getting very good, and their poly modeling tools are really good. Arguably, I would say better than ZBrush for poly modeling. And what's great is that you can poly model a shape and then go sculpt it. And I feel like Blender might be almost easier to start. Plus, you can animate Blender, you can do textures, you can render. So if you want to see what your stuff is going to look like, you can just render it. Like the actual rendering software in Blender, which is free, again, is really, really good. And you can do all that in there. Whereas with ZBrush, if you get the subscription, you can get their, access to the other rendering software that Maxon has. It's can't remember which one it is. It used to be Lightroom, not Lightroom. Sorry. Oh my God, why am I blanking on it? There was like a program everybody used, Keyshot, that everybody used to do renderings of their ZBrush work, and I think that is, part of the subscription thing. But you have to take the stuff out. It's just like big pain, versus just being in the software already for Blender, where you can just frickin' render right in the program. It's amazing. Wouldn't that make all the ridges inset pretty far because you layer? Oh, I read that. Shorts have been the bane of my 3PO existence. I want something that I don't have to worry about and easy to walk in. Even back form shorts I worry about. Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like, I hate the shorts. I feel the same way. I hate the shorts. The ones that I made, I have two pairs that I wear for things. Like if I'm walking a lot, I'll use the vacuum form ones because they're a little easier to walk in than my sculpted cast ones. The sculpted cast ones, I like the look of way more, and they fit me really great, but they're, because the ones I'm wearing are, I added a flexibility additive to the epoxy. They're epoxy fiberglass. And so they have a little bend to them, but I could have added more, made them slightly more flexible so they would be closer to like the vacuum form shorts. But they're not easy to walk in very far. Like I can get around and I can walk okay in them, and I can fake it. Like if someone sees me walking and I have to go from place to place, I can walk. I can make it look like it's not a problem, but it doesn't feel good. But I like the way they look so much more than the vacuum form ones, but they're just hard to get around in. So if it's just a photo op, I know I'm going to be standing there for a while, I will put on my sculpted ones because I like them more. So that's kind of where these come in, because these are will look like my sculpted ones, but the actual shape is more natural for standing. Like the legs, you can see the gap is kind of like vertical, kind of like the vacuum form ones, whereas the rubber shorts for the films, the leg gap is really strange. And if they're flexible, great, but if you want to make them out of a hard material that holds up better for your chrome and so forth, then the shape kind of sucks, and they're not as easy to display without like having to mod them. Like if I made a display pair, I kind of have to like really chop them up to make them not be terrible. But again, they look accurate, and that's kind of like these guys. I'm making these to kind of accommodate that whole thing, where this looks more accurate like the old school shorts, but they're easy to wear. And I don't know if you heard me say this before, but I'm probably going to do multiple versions of these. So there'll be a one piece for TPU, one piece for maybe PETG. So they're stiffer, but they there's a trick. I don't know if I'll tell you about this in a second. They'll be stiffer, but they'll still be pretty wearable. And then I'll make some where it's a two-piece where you can put them together like the vacuum form shorts, so they're completely split. But a trick that I do with mine, all my shorts, I cut the whole bottom out right here. I just cut it through, so that even the one-piece ones that I wear, the whole bottom is just chopped out of the middle, and you can't see it when you're standing anywhere. But now when they flex better, because now they just flex better. It makes a huge difference. Sounds like Photoshop and Lightroom, they want everyone to pay for subscription. I miss the days when you pay for software outright and the updates were free. No, totally. I mean, that's the thing is like, and that's the thing is if you have a big update and there's like if it's like, I don't know, $150, which is isn't cheap, but like if it's like $150 to update to the next version, but you can still use the old version as long as you want, that's great. But when it's that subscription thing and, you have to have internet connectivity and like if I go to travel somewhere and I get on a plane and I want to do ZBrush and I got my, bring my laptop and then, I don't have connection to the internet, so now I can't use my software. That's not cool. Plus, Adobe did that whole thing recently where they were basically like they rewrote their terms of service and then they automatically updated the software. And if you didn't sign oh, it's fireworks. Sounds like someone's shooting a gun outside. If you didn't update the terms of service, then you couldn't use the software. So, if you're working on something that's NDA and you don't want Adobe snooping around in your files, using their stuff to train their AI, you could either stop doing the project you're working on or give them permission, and that's like not a good choice in my opinion. By the way, great job with the Otoy Star Trek video. That was a tearjerker. Man, thank you very much. That was a cool project to be part of. It was just to see the stuff that they did with that was just crazy. I mean, being on set and watching it, watching how they did it and watching it work live was it's pretty mind-blowing. And when we did the test, the outdoor stuff, they had not used the setup outdoors like that at that point. So when we filmed it, Sam was testing out basically like for the first time, just seeing what it looks like outside. It was crazy because it was worked in real time. I don't know if you've seen any of the behind the scenes stuff for it, but Sam would go film the scene, and then he would just go over and watch the playback. And on the playback, it looks like Kirk, and what they're watching live looks like Kirk. It's super impressive how well it worked. And I feel like they're working on this for a long time, and now like some of these AI tools are getting good really, really, really fast. So I feel like they put a lot of work into this thing, which is hopefully isn't completely like dismantled immediately by all the AI stuff coming up. But it's really cool technology. And actually, like when I was there, they did a lot of scans of me for various things, and they gave me copies of all of my scans. So I got, I don't even know, 36 or 38 scans of my face in different poses, and a couple full body scans, just me standing in my underwear doing like different poses, so I can use them for whatever. It's real. And I'd been scanned, I don't know, probably like 7 years ago, maybe longer than that. And I'm the same size and everything, so it's still cool to like have my old scans, but the new scans are higher detail, and they're very, very useful for making costumes, and especially for making costume stuff. It's so cool to have a good scan. That's why I have a backup copy that's cracked and make sure it's blocked in Windows Firewall so it doesn't have to connect to the internet. Well, that's like how I learned half of this stuff. I mean, initially, the places I worked for had license of ZBrush forever, and but when I was learning, I don't know if you guys heard that whole story about how I got into doing 3D work, but essentially I kind of had a chance to go work in 3D space at this job I was at, and the art director was like, you got to learn all these programs, and it was like 3 Max and ZBrush, and he gave me kind of a crash course. And ZBrush was pretty new at the time. It was like 2005, or I think 2005, I think, maybe early 2006, and it was 2005. ZBrush was pretty new. It was like in version 2.5, I think. And I started then, and it's crazy how much stuff they've added to it. But at the time, I had a cracked version for a little while because I just didn't have access or the funds to just go buy it at the time. But this, like, I bought my own copy in 2017. Like, when I stopped my job, I think one of the first things I bought was a copy of ZBrush, so it'd be legit. Now, this is a section that's going to be interesting. Here comes Natalie with her snot rag in her nose. She's like, shh, don't tell. I watched behind the scenes. The technology was amazing. Oh yeah. It's so like super impressive, and seeing it in person and watching it is just so, it's crazy. It's crazy how they can do it, you know. And I sign a lot of NDAs, so I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'm allowed to say. Some of the stuff they've shown, so I can talk about some of it, I guess. But it was, seeing it in person. Like when I first walked in there, it was one of the first things they showed me. Like sat me down and they're like, okay. I mean, I just met them, and they're like, okay. And they showed me basically a test of it in person. And I was like, oh my god, what the hell am I looking at? This is crazy. And it wasn't that part of it was super impressive. I mean, you watch the scenes when Kirk is walking through the woods, and then the lighting is like, you know, the branches and stuff, like the light going across his face. That's all just happening live in camera, and it's so cool. And the people that run that company are really, like Jules, who is one of the owners of Otoy. They do like the Octane renderer, which is a very, very good rendering engine. He's really, really smart, like really smart. And I knew that he was good at this stuff, you know. I knew he was a smart guy, but after I did the thing for the Star Trek stuff, I watched an interview with him, or like a talk that he gave, and I was like, oh man, this guy, you know, he's like quiet in person. And however, like I've worked doing like digital work for a long time, and I feel like I wish I would have talked to him more about it when I was there. But you meet people that are high up in a company, you don't exactly know, you know, what their role is 100%. So, but then after I learned that, I was like, oh, I should have talked to him more. But they're really cool. I feel like I'll end up doing stuff with them again in the future. I've never done a shoot on a volume before, seeing how it's done. I'm super excited to see what they do. So the volume stuff is freaking awesome. Pretty soon we're going to make movies with de-aged actors and voice cloning. You won't be able to tell the difference. I mean, it's getting to that point now. Some of the stuff is, some of it's really, 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 really good. I mean, they already do crazy like digital makeup on actors and in post that you'd be kind of shocked. They've been doing some of it for a while too, but but with the volume stuff, that is also, I've worked on I shot that commercial with Will Ferrell, in the GM Netflix commercial. That we shot that on a volume, and then when I worked on Skeleton Crew, we shot, they had a couple volume stages at Manhattan Beach Studios that we shot on, and it's really wild, especially certain scenarios too. It feels like it's kind of crazy because like the way it works, it's like the whole thing's project, like the scene is all the way around you all the time, but where the camera looks, the camera has its own like box on the volume wall. So when you see the volume, it's just, you know, just massive screens all around. You can tell where the camera is because there's like a rectangle that is reacting differently. And what's happening is anything in the background that's like three-dimensional in space, as the camera moves, the background goes into parallax with the camera. So it recognizes where the camera is. And it's really trippy to see it. And it's really, really trippy to see it in person. And in particular, like if you're standing in the right spot and the camera's pulled back and it's like this section the camera sees is big, when it moves, it makes you feel like wobbly a little bit because like suddenly the background is doing weird stuff. In camera, it looks like totally seamless. And in Skeleton Crew, the days that we used it were the Port Borgo days for like episode 2. We used it a whole bunch. They used it for a ton of stuff, but those were the days that I was on. So the Port Borgo was like a spaceport, and when you faced one way, you'd look out, you would be like outer space with all the ships all docked everywhere. And then the rest was kind of like a bazaar with all these little booths with all the vendors all over the place. And they built a whole bunch of them on the stage. So there were like, I don't know, 15 or 20, maybe more, like little vendor booths all over and little eateries and stuff. And then on the volume, there were more of them. And there were scenes when when we were filming, I was at one far side of the volume looking across, and I couldn't. It took me a minute to figure out where the real vendor booths were and where the ones on the volume started. It was weird. When you're up close to it, the little individual pixels are almost a centimeter apart. They're pretty far apart. So if you're standing close to it, you can see every little dot like crazy. But in camera, they just all blend together. I wanted to turn my 2-car garage into a volume until I saw the price. They're using Unreal Engine, correct? They are using Unreal Engine, and they're using some proprietary stuff that ILM is working on. They kind of go back and forth between the two, I guess. But when I asked about it when I was there, because there was a girl that was like doing the moving props around and stuff on the volume. And I was like, is this Unreal? And she said, no, it looked like Unreal, but it wasn't Unreal that they were using. She said, and she told me, she's like, we do use Unreal for some of it, but then some of it is their proprietary ILM software, which I don't know if it's based on Unreal, whereas like they have one for their animation stuff that's based on Maya, and it looks and works a lot like Maya, but it has like just so many add-ons added to it that it's kind of like a proprietary thing. Like you can't just go buy it. And I wonder, I don't know for sure, but I wonder if their software is like that, or if it's literally like completely rewritten software for the volume. But they use Unreal, and they use that other stuff. I don't know what the other one's called. She told me what they call it in-house, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's really cool. And when you're standing behind it, each panel is probably like maybe like a foot by a foot, maybe a little bigger, maybe like this big, 18 inches by 18. But there's like hundreds and hundreds of them, and each one they have like an input wire, and then multiple output wires, multiple input wires. It's pretty crazy. And just to see them like change stuff in the scene, like, because you're getting in-camera reflectivity, they would do stuff where like if the camera was facing this way and they wanted more like for Port Borgo is a perfect example, where it was like a lot of it, the scene was lit by like firelight, and so what they would do is they would just have like a big fireball, like digital, up on one of the screens, like on the opposite side of the camera. So it's just like a fire. So it would give like that fiery flicker to stuff in the scene. So if people had like reflective armor, or there's something shiny, or just to get that like, that kind of randomness of a fire going, they just have this big fireball, just massive thing just up on the screen behind the camera. Or they could put it on the ceiling. Or like the coolest thing is when they had a fight scene and there were lasers, they could fire lasers across the volume, and it would make the light just react in the space. So it could maybe go across the ceiling, so you wouldn't see the laser bolts in camera, but the laser bolts would travel across the volume, like outside the view of the camera, but it would like affect the lighting in the scene, which is very, very, very cool. They make good use of it. So yeah, it was really, really neat to see. All right, let's see here. I gotta stop getting so excited and keep working on my little shorts. Let's see, how deep are these little grooves? I gotta clean these guys up. One of the things I can do here, Now I'm getting back on this. I'm going to overcut these, and I'm going to re-pinch the little edges. I could break off all the piping detail and then sculpt the shorts back down and then have the piping just be really crisp. No volume. Oh, you can't hear me? Oh my gosh, let me look here. Is there no sound coming through? Let me know. It says no volume. I priced the whole volume system in 4K direct from manufacturer in China. It was like 75% off from US distributors. Still like, wow, that is crazy. Audio, oh, never mind, it was me. Audio is fine. Okay, awesome. That's good. Yeah, we had talked not that long ago. My wife and I were like, she's like, we should set up one of those volumes, close to where we're at, these studio spaces. And yeah, they're expensive. And the thing is, there's like the different sizes. The one that I shot the GM commercial on was like a half volume. It was like, it kind of went, like a U shape. So it had like a wall here and then it curved around, so you could get like both sides, and a pretty good thing. But the ones for all the Star Wars stuff that we worked on they were like, it had a ceiling, and it was like fully encompassed the room. And there was like, where you walk in, they basically have like a door you could walk through, where there was like a giant panel that overlapped the opening, and it was set back, I don't know, 10 feet or something. And you could walk in and be on set. But if the camera turned, the image in camera would blend between the two walls. Like, you wouldn't see the gap. It was pretty cool to see how that worked. And they could close that gap up more if they needed to, or move it around like relatively easily. But it was very, very neat to see it in action. I'd wanted to see it for a while, so I was like fascinated with it. When I got on set, I just couldn't stop looking at it. It's funny how many people just don't care. You're there, there's like, you're working with like, there's like 200, 300 people on set doing stuff, and then nobody's looking at it. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is the coolest thing. Let me see here. I'm probably going to overemphasize this. Once I convert this down into remesh it and the mesh is clean, I can really, really sharpen up these edges here really nice. But I gotta establish them. How do I do this on this guy? I have to establish them enough initially so that I can remesh them effectively without it being terrible. Because if I can remesh them cleanly at the beginning, it's going to make my life better. 5 years, it will be more affordable. This is true. This is true. And what's kind of crazy now is like how some of the AI stuff, how you could film something, just swap everything, and relight your whole scene. It just like digitally models your scene, and then whatever background you put in, you can just match the lighting to your background. Just, it's crazy. It's kind of scary how fast some of that technology is moving along. It freaks me out. I'm as bummed as I am about like the art side of the whole thing. I'm just kind of like generally kind of terrified about what's going to happen in the next 5 years with how this stuff is going. It's like I follow a ton of like AI news, and like every day there's some new thing that's just like, I'm like, guys, slow down. Let me see something here. All right, I think I cheated this on mine because this detail is slightly, this is where having like giant amount of resolution, I could really get this thing sharper. And I'm probably going to remodel these little bolts and just stick brand new ones on there so they're real clean. That's what I did on mine, and they look nice. And they look very nice. Yeah, it feels like Skynet is upon us. It really, really does. It really does, especially when you see how fast all the robot technology is moving. Oh my God. I'm like, guys, can we please calm down with this stuff? It is scary. And I don't know. The whole thing freaks me out. So my wife and I had been together since 2000 for over 20 years. And one of the very first times we hung out, I was telling her about how I feel about like robots and stuff. And I feel like my schedule for like when robots really start showing up is like almost dead on. I was like, yeah, about 20 years, there's going to be robots around. Like, going to be people, humanoid robots. We're going to be seeing them. And sure enough, it's been 20 years, and those things are getting ready to start selling them. So I was making a year off. AI battle droids and miniation. Oh my! I know. It's so freaking freaky. I mean, they have all that, and then they have like the crazy drone swarms that are right now. You can basically give it a command and it'll go like execute whatever commands you give it, and that's scary. I've seen those videos where they're basically taking them from they're taking them from like an F-16 and just dropping like a whole crap load of drones. They could just dump like 200 drones at once, and they all like form up, and then they go just do stuff, and there's too many to stop. It's scary. And they're coming up with like technology to jam them and stuff. But I don't know if you guys ever watch all those clips from Russia and Ukraine and all the ways that they're using those FPV drones. And those are like, those are guys flying them. But you hand that over to an AI and it's just like, scary. Yeah, it's crap. And some of these tiny ass little micro drones that they're showing now. Oh my God. Time to make some homemade EMPs. No joke. I love my drones. That's when I started following it. Oh man. Well, thank you. No, that's I did some drone practice tonight. Some FPV practice for a little bit, and I don't know if I got it up here somewhere. Got it. Look. Da-da-da-da-da. This is I'm reading through my study guide for my Part 107 license again, learning all the things. So I read through it once already, and now I'm reading it again because half of it's like gobbledygook in my brain. I don't remember it all. So I'm like, I think I need to just narrate this whole thing and break it into chapters and then just put it on YouTube narrated. I was like, if anybody could bear to listen to my voice that long, it'd be okay. But anyway, that's just open here because I am trying to learn all that. And they have like the FAA study guide, and they have FAA study guide, and what's the other one? There's the FAA, like one of the handbooks that you can use. The study guide handbook has way more stuff in it, but I think I'm going to try to like go through that as well, even though it's not required. I feel like the more of it I know. I was watching a lot of people talk about their experience doing the Part 107 test, and I was like watching them do the Part 107, and like, here's the areas that I got stumped. And then so many people were saying like, oh, there's a lot of questions that aren't on the study guide, and there's like people that do like drone school, which I don't want to go through. I don't think I need that. I'm not in a rush. I don't need it in a week or anything, but they do the drone study exams for the Part 107 test, and they basically are saying that they change the questions from time to time, so they want to make sure that you understand. You don't just memorize the answers, but you actually understand why stuff is the way it is, which I get. I think that's good. But also, now it's like, okay, I got to really know what the hell know what I'm doing here, which is good. I don't blame them. I think it's good. If you're flying these things around, especially like a bigger drone, it's probably good to know the person's not gonna, crashing into a fire plane or something like that would be bad.
When I started flying back in 2015, 2016, all I had to do was call a tower, local airport, and also Air Force Base, and check in and get permission to fly. It was a lot restricted. Yeah, I remember like I got my first drone right around the time when they started to implement that stuff. And and I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like everywhere it's like you got to check in. And I with like the DJI drones, what I liked is that it kind of had its like invisible fence, which I guess they just removed all the the invisible what do they call it, the invisible fences when you fly. But I guess they removed that really recently. But I like that because it kind of would just, if you're really going to fly into a place you're not supposed to fly, you just couldn't. And I kind of appreciated that. But it was, now it's like, do you accept full responsibility for, you get that little pop-up on the app? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do whatever. Now I'm not flying, I'm not trying to like fly in the path of airplanes or anything, so currently it's not a big deal. But I feel like if I'm doing commercial stuff, I'm probably going to be in some situations where that's going to be more important, But we'll see how it goes. And I'm already like just trying to sort out my whole like course of action with FPV. I feel like now I'm I'm still obviously learning. I'm doing a simulator every couple days. I did it tonight, but I feel like I'm getting much more comfortable. Like I feel like I'm ready to go fly a real one. And if I'm not doing aerobatic stuff, I'll probably be okay flying around. I think I'm gonna be fine. But now I'm starting to kind of think about, okay, what do I get first? I do think I'm gonna just pick up a little whoop drone just to goof around on and get used to that feeling of having something actually flying around versus the simulator, which the simulator is great, and I think it's been very helpful for me. But there's like a mental thing of knowing that I actually have a little aircraft in the sky that I think would be good to just practice with something small. I can't like destroy somebody's car with it or something, The guy that hit the fire plane is freelancer for the AP and NFL on Prime. No kidding. Oh my god, that is wild. When that happened, I was like, oh no. I mean, stuff like that is just, what a way to like screw it up for all of us. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? And the thing is, if I was flying in an area and there was helicopters, right? Even my old place when I lived in North Hollywood, there were a lot of helicopters in the sky. I would not fly like very high up because the helicopters come by, and sometimes they come by kind of low. So if I even heard one, I would get that thing down out of the air, like way lower, just in case. Even though I technically wasn't in their space, you never know. Like, I've had helicopters come over really, really low over my house. Like if a police helicopter is looking for somebody, sometimes they would come right over my house. I have a lot of videos on my Instagram of like that I would post on my stories of helicopters doing that. They just fly right over, too low, scary. My house would be shaking. It was great. That's also funny too. Is like people complain about the drone noise and like living by helicopters flying everywhere. I'm doing the Drone Pro Academy. Well worth it for studying. Yeah, I've looked at some of them. I feel like if I was in more of a hurry to get it, I would probably do one of the schools. But I'm kind of like, I'm not rushing it, so I've got a little time to, to go over it. I feel like I'm struggling with some help with those, but I feel like I'm learning quite a bit on my own. He pulled down all his pics right after the plane got hit because he's like the only guy flying above the Palisades. Oh my god, that is so wild. It's so crazy. I can't believe he did that. Rhino hobbies. I'm sure that happens a lot in the valley. Oh my God, it is. Like, yeah, that was the thing. In San Fernando Valley, so many helicopters all the time. What was cool, I just saw one around here the other day. I don't see them up here very much, but those Ospreys would fly over. Man, they were awesome. They would fly over super, super, super low over our house. And you could hear them for miles. Do, 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 do. And there'd always be like a pair of them. So they'd come over right over my house and they'd fly super low, shake the hell out of everything. It was great. I loved it. It's like I will just stop everything I'm doing to go see helicopters and stuff. I get excited. Right now I live close to like Lockheed Martin and Grumman and all these places. So we get like the stealth bomb will fly over really, really low. Really, really low. And like you can see the panels on the bottom and stuff. It's freaking cool. And it's one of these things, like whenever I hear a plane doing its little loops, I have to go look. I should post. I tape anytime I'm home and they're doing that kind of stuff. I always get video. And I've got video of like a few of the different bombers. It's neat. Kind of dork out for those things. Those Ospreys crash lot. I heard that. I heard that there was like issues that they're really, really hard to fly, and I had heard that they got like made some improvements to them, so it's not as often. But when they first came out, like they were crashing all the time, and I feel like I remember hearing like a lot of people, because they would have like, you know, they carry a bunch of people, and like, you know, the whole batch of people inside would end up getting killed, which is kind of crazy. And when all the times I've seen them fly, I never seen them in the full airplane mode, like with the props tilted forward, until the other day. I've seen them fly kind of like a helicopter mode a bunch of times, but never seen them fly just in the kind of airplane configuration. And like less than a week ago, I saw them, got some video of them doing it. It was neat. And the same thing, I could hear him from way off. I hadn't heard him in a while. Man, that sounds like an Osprey. And I went out and I could hear it for like 10 minutes flying around. And I was like, where is this thing? I have to head out, but really want to make 3PO foam shorts. Hit me up because I'll test and work to make them happen. Oh, man, awesome. I will absolutely do that. I used to work right outside Naval Air Station Norfolk. It was great. I mean, I see the coolest stuff. Living by like these bases, I love military like aircraft in general, and I think they're super neat. So it's just, I feel pretty lucky to get to see them at all. It's kind of cool. There are too many moving parts that fail. It's too complex. You know, what's years ago when I lived in Florida, MacDill Air Force Base had an air show, and they had an Osprey there, and it was open so it could go up inside. And it's like like you said, like the moving parts, when you go through the thing, like every plane that I've been in, especially military planes where there's a lot of exposed stuff, you know, you see like tons of hydraulic lines and tons of electrical conduit going all over the place, but the Osprey had a bunch. And to me, I'm not an expert in aircraft, but it felt like more than normal from what I'm used to seeing. I looked at a lot of planes growing up, but I remember like, man, there's a lot of stuff. A lot of hydraulic lines everywhere. I got photos of that probably on my Flickr page from the interior of the Ospreys. They're freaking cool. And at that time, too, that's when I know they were having a lot of crashes back then. I don't know, again, I feel like they've remedied some of the problems now so that there's less, but there were, I remember when I posted the photos then, that was like, everybody's like, oh, those things crash constantly. It's pretty freaky. Let's see here. Time is at 10:20. When did I start this? 8:30 or something? I'm going to try to get a little bit further along here. And then I gotta move over and start working in my room again. I'm trying to get, every time I've come on here, I'm like, I gotta finish my room. I'm building a big
like sci-fi backdrop, because in my studio room I have all my Star Wars droids. Like I got, I don't know, 4 or 5 droid costumes hanging out up there, and a couple more in the garage that I'd like to put up there. And they're just standing against a white generic bedroom wall, and it looked boring. So I started to make like a Star Wars style wall in the back, which looked cool. But then I was like, I was halfway through it, big, like a blast door from Star Wars, they like come together. So I started to change my plan. I started to make it look like a big blast door, and it's all made out of like foam, and it's all coated with like drywall spackle stuff, so it's smooth, and it's coming along nice, but it's not done yet. And I'm like now adding to the ceiling. So if you're like standing within the space and you have like a wider camera, it's not just a wall and like a generic ceiling. It's like a wall and a little bit of like a sci-fi ceiling around the thing. So it should look pretty neat, but I turned it into more work than it was supposed to be initially. It was I just get too wound up about the whole thing. So I just went overboard as per usual, and now it's taking longer than it should. So as with the rest of my life, I've given myself way too many projects, and I don't have enough time for all of them, which is why I have been trying to live stream stuff as I go, because stuff like my drone practice, if I didn't make myself put it up publicly, I'd probably not do it, just because I'm like, I don't have time. But if I make it a scheduled thing, then I've been doing it. I've been pretty consistent. I think I've done it at least once every 2 days for the last 3 weeks. So I think I'm on like 15 or 16 hours of it ish. I missed I worked in the Mississippi shipyard. Oh, that's cool. I build warships for Navy. It's the gearbox, the clutch on the Osprey has a lot of problems. I build warships for Navy, CV-62. Plank owner for so I want to be built Hampton shipyards. Plank owner G out of Pascagoula. Wow, that's crazy. So, yeah, that's like, it's neat to be near the stuff and see the stuff being made too. It's just like seeing the internals happening. It's crazy. My dad worked for Pratt Whitney, and he was in their media department, but so he was around like everything they did. He got to, basically it was like how they have, like behind the scenes photography on movies and stuff. It's kind of like what he would do there. So he was like involved in so much stuff. And then when they would do media for new engines or whatever they're working on, he would do all the the videography and everything for all that. So it was around a lot of airplane stuff as a kid because of the Pratt Whitney aspect. And I always found it really interesting. And my grandfather worked at Pan Am, and it was like totally different side of it. And he was in charge of like they're ordering stuff for all kinds of things, if there's spare parts, and then supplies for the plane, and like snacks for the onboard, like all kinds of stuff. And that was pretty crazy. I got to basically help him work when I was younger, like early teens, because he had hurt his back doing something, and we got to go to Knoxville, Tennessee, he's from Florida, but he was working up in Tennessee at the time, and I got to go help him log all these parts, tons of airplane parts, and it was just like these huge, like 53 feet long trailers with like shelves inside, just full of like so many weird things, like just cool, anything you think of like for the plane, just shelves of stuff, weird parts. And it was like, what is this? And he would tell me what everything is. You have to take down the numbers and like put them on a list, and then he would go put them in a database. Because I guess at the time, having everything computerized was relatively new. And so it was like all this stuff was only existed on paper. And so the whole thing he was doing was getting it all digitized for like the inventory and stuff for everything. It was interesting. Interesting for me as a kid. I thought it was very cool. It does amaze me that giant steel box that floats costs a few billion. I know, it's crazy. But the amount of infrastructure inside those ships is so mind-blowing. Just, I mean, the planning and how much stuff has to run through all the different bulkheads from place to place. And it has to be, they have to be able to close off compartments to keep stuff watertight. It is wild. It's quite wild. All right, let me see here. What did I do? There's a piece that this little guy, I feel like it's almost sharp enough here that I could do, that I can start to remesh it. I might do an experimental remesh here and see what I get. Thing is, when you remesh it, there's like aspects that are better and aspects that are worse as far as working. And when you remesh, if everything's good, you get some nice, crisp, good edges. But if it's bad, then it's a big pain in my butt. So let's just try it. Let's see. So this is what the mesh looks like now. It's crazy. It's Dynamesh. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to select these pieces. These are different poly groups here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to crease. Crease. Then we're going to say crease PG, which is crease poly groups. And what that'll do is when I remesh it, it should preserve some of the edge details a bit. So we're going to do Z remesher, keep groups, and we're at 1.0. We're just going to go to half. Right? Z remesher, see if it doesn't crash out. I was MM reactor department. What does MM mean? I don't know all of the lingo. We have 50 billion backlog of ships to build for the Navy. It's a good thing about working defense industry is there's always be work. I have unlimited overtime. I'm always exhausted. Wow. That's crazy, man. How long have you been using ZBrush? I've been using ZBrush since 2005, I think. But I haven't been like full-time ZBrush. It's just been a tool that I use like on and off for that whole time. So, oops, see that? Too low res. All right, let's try that again. Let's do same and turn off adapt. Keep groups. Try it again. I've been using it for machinist paint. Oh, that's cool. Wow. See, I'd love to get into doing like some machining stuff. Do you do like CNC machines, or is it a lot of hand machining? And that's the thing too, is like as far as machining goes, the other software, Fusion 360, that I use a lot, has a lot of tools for doing CNC machining. Why did it just do that? I said same, keep groups, same, and Z remesher, but it went really low res. Did you see that? Watch this. I hit the thing. I don't have adapt selected over here. Usually if you hit adapt, sometimes it'll go way lower resolution. But when you have same, it's supposed to keep my same poly count, which is up here, 1.4 million polys. It should be similar poly count, but I feel like it went much lower last time. Let's see what it does. See that? It's way low. It went down to like a tenth. That is weird. Don't know why I did that. Super strange. Not what it's supposed to do. This is almost usable even though it's that low, but I have to fix it all up. I have to do some work here. What I could do, I could select these pieces here and break them into different poly groups, and it should, like if let me go back to this one. If you see how the lines here, the polygons follow the poly groups, that is typically a good thing. But anyway, I don't know. I might come back and tackle this bit tomorrow, because I gotta start getting back to some other stuff here. So I might just be on tomorrow. I was supposed to do ZBrush tomorrow, alternate my drone days and my ZBrush days. So technically I'm putting in a little extra right now. So tomorrow I might be back on here to finish this guy up. On small boys, HD, I'll repair. Man, it's crazy. My uncle works. He was an iron worker for years and years, and now last time I talked to him, he was working at a shipyard in I want to say in Maine. It might be in Massachusetts. I can't remember, but it's like there's like a big shipyard there where they build like giant Navy ships as well. Small boys, small ships. Gotcha. Man, that's crazy. It's like, I feel like that's the thing, is those kind of jobs be fun to do and pay well. I have no idea like how my skill set would fall in. I feel like that stuff would be really interesting. Like I said, I live close to like Grumman. Lockheed Martin is really close by. And I'm like, I wonder if there's jobs there that I could do, because I don't have a degree in like engineering or anything, but I'm pretty handy with that kind of stuff. So I don't think they would like be like, come in and engineer cool stuff. But I'm sure there's like other things I'd be good at, and it's close by. But they'll probably just make me sweep floors or something, which would not be the best. Anyway, let me see what time it is. 10:30. So I've been on here for like, what time did I come on? 2 hours. Been on 2 hours. So, all right, I'm going to put these shorts down, and I'm going to come back to them tomorrow and try to get a first draft done so I can put these stupid things online, and maybe print a set and test them before I put them up and just see if they do what they're supposed to, and basically go from there. Let me see something here, because if they work, it'd be freaking cool. Working a lot of valves, oil pumps, water purification, ballast system, and the shaft of the ship. That's crazy. So are all those things just custom machined parts? Or do you guys have like vendors for some of those parts, or do you like, how does that work? Or is it like a mix? Like, do you get vendors to make parts and then you have to make fittings, like custom fittings and stuff? Again, like the ships, it's so crazy how massive they are. I get carried away here. I could just like pluck away and ZBrush stuff all night, and sometimes the things I'm doing are just like a little bit overkill. Da-da-da. Where's lots of I'll look at this in a different color, see what it looks like. It's funny because like change the color, you can see all the little janky stuff everywhere.
thing where I feel like there's Dynamesh. Is this all the way up? Let's go all the way up. 2 million. All right, way too high resolution. But I can get in here and do all this. This is for a costume. It will be for a costume. These are for C-3PO or any of the other protocol droids that wear the same shorts. There's probably like 4 other droids that this would be appropriate for. And these are scanned off of one of the real costumes. So I'm just basically doing a scan cleanup right now. So I'm trying to all these weird things where it's warpy and weird and it's warpy here and different here. I'm trying to preserve all that while I do this. So I'm trying to clean up what I know needs to be sharper while also leaving the weird stuff behind. So it's kind of like, it'd be easy just to, mirror it and weld it and like work symmetrically and just clean everything up perfect. But I'm trying to keep as much of the strangeness as possible while also cleaning it up. So it's kind of hit that fine line. That's why it's a little slower than if I was modeling them from scratch. This would be much faster process, but I'm trying to keep the weirdness there, which makes it take a little longer, but usually worth the work. So, so once they're done, I'm going to try to get a set modeled up here and then print them, see how they look, and if they're good, then I'll post them online and then everybody could take a stab at them. But it means shaft bearings overheat during flight ops. One night, I thought the captain was going to blow the top. Oh my god. So what happens like when the stuff overheats, you guys, is the part destroyed or ruined, or do you is it like overheat where you can let it cool down and it'll be okay, or is a part just shot? And I feel like, you hear cars like they'll overheat, and sometimes the block is warped, and you got to get everything replaned, and it's a big pain in the ass. And then other times it's like it just starts to overheat, and it's still technically okay. And I always wonder, like, on those kind of things, you got a giant bajillion-dollar vessel going out there. Something like that breaks. It's not easy, I would imagine, to get down inside the middle of the ship to change stuff out. All right, party time. Oh, look at that. What did I do? See this? That's not good. Oh, you know why? Because see this, that red dot, I had the symmetry turned on by accident, which you do not want. So we got to undo, go all the way back until that is not janky anymore. Or that's good enough. A little bit more. Get that. All right. That was lame. Okay. I'm gonna back this thing up. So, oh god. What I might do is I might make a copy, do the mesh, because then I can meshify all this stuff. It's pretty simple, but these piping detail I want to keep sharp. So I might break this off into another element and work like that. I don't know. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, I'm putting this down for the night. I'm going to go 10:40. I'm going to try to work for another hour in my room. It's crazy. What am I doing? What am I doing? Let's get out of here. Let's go back to the thing. All right, we're here. Party time. Anyway, thanks guys for hanging out.
The variant is about as big as a room. Oh my god. So down for the entire night until it's fixed, and it's like 35 feet straight down. Oh my god. Yeah, that's kind of what I imagined. I'm like, those parts are gigantic and super hard to access, and it just doesn't sound like a pleasant thing to deal with if something breaks. I see the engine rooms in those places. There are massive, massive engines. And I'm like, I don't even know how you move a part of these engines. It just seems just crazy. I don't even know. It's too much to deal with. And how much gas does it take? Like every time a part moves, like how much fuel is that? It's so much. It's insane. All right, I'm getting the heck out of here before I keep chattering some more. Thanks for stopping by. It was fun hanging out with everybody. You kids have a fun time. I will